A reading from the book of Numbers. The Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to Moses. Taking some of the Spirit that was on Moses, the Lord bestowed it on the 70 elders. And as the Spirit came to rest on them, they prophesied. Now 2 men, one named Eldad and the other Medad, were not in the gathering, but had been left in the camp. They too had been on the list, but had not gone out to the tent. Yet the Spirit came to rest on them also, and they prophesied in the camp. So, when a young man quickly told Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp, Joshua, son of Nun, who from his youth had been Moses' aide, said, Moses, my Lord, stop them. But Moses answered him, Are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the people of the Lord were prophets. Would that the Lord might bestow His Spirit on them all. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
I went to jail this week. I was just visiting. Don't worry, Mom. And one of the really cool things I got to do in jail was lead a kind of Bible study from people of all different Christian backgrounds. And one man who particularly stood out at this Bible study, we'll call him Gary. He identifies as a born-again Christian. Now, I don't know how many born-again Christians you've met, but when they see people in long white robes, they tend to ask a lot of questions. And one of his questions that he couldn't get past was, if I have a personal experience of faith in Jesus Christ, why do I need other Christians? Why do I need a larger church? And I sympathize with Gary. I really do. Because especially these days, it seems that the rest of the church are just middlemen who are more likely to obscure the message of God than to actually promote it and preach it. I wish he had been here to hear this reading, because I think there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from that experience. See, the time in which Moses is helping these people prophesy is not all that different from our own. In fact, just before this, they had reached a point of crisis on their journey to the Promised Land. They were hungry. They wanted to go back. They couldn't see why God was leading them where they were. And it was precisely in that moment that Moses prayed to the Lord, and that was when the Lord sent down His Spirit so that the people could prophesy, so that they could offer encouragement to one another. Now, of course, there are those who, like Joshua, right? They want to restrict God's graces. They want to say, no, it's only for these people. Eldad and Medad, they weren't in the tent, right? They can't prophesy. But Moses is very wise. He says, not only can these two prophesy, but he points to something greater that hasn't been reached yet. He says, would that all the people of the Lord were prophets. Would that the Lord might bestow His Spirit on them all. Now, it took a while, but brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. That something greater has arrived. With the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, He sent His Spirit down unto every member of the baptized faithful. And if you're in this room, and if you are baptized, you are a prophet, whether you know it or not. Whether you're good at public speaking or not, whether you have extraordinary gifts with tongues or not, every member of the baptized faithful is called to prophesy, to speak out against injustice in our society, and to speak of the saving power of our Lord God. I love that for this reading we have so many lay people with us today. Because I think especially today, this message is so important. Because if we leave the prophecy to religious or to the clergy, the church is going to fail a lot of people. Because not only do we need each other's encouragement like the Israelites did, Jesus has given us a much bigger job to do. We're not only concerned with one nation, we're concerned with preaching the gospel to all the world, so that we can be a light to all the nations. So we need all hands on deck. We need our attorneys and our teachers and our doctors and our nurses and our business people. Because I want to let you in on a little secret. There are a lot of places in this world where people in white robes don't have any authority. That's most of the world. But you do. You have spheres of influence that we can't even touch. You have inroads that we can't even imagine to penetrate. We can't allow the weakness of some of the members of our church allow us to turn the gospel inward, allow us to focus on ourselves at the expense of the needs of others, spiritual and physical. I want to issue each one of you a challenge. Sometime this week, maybe Sunday Mass would be a good time. I want you to pray that the Lord will put somebody in your life to whom you can prophesy. I want you to pray that the Lord will put somebody in your life to whom you can share God's love. Because yes, the Lord has bestowed His Spirit on us all. Now if only Moses' hopes would be true, and if only each one of us would prophesy to our fullest potential.